one. So, hello, here we are. Welcome, Katrina, to this show.
Thanks so much for having me, Paula.
Yes, it's so nice to have you. This is Spotlight and it is number three, so episode number three. And like the name says, it is a spotlight on one person and what they do, how they serve other people, what you can learn from it. And today we have Catrina Mitchum, and she is in California. And it is such a pleasure to have you here. And I would like to first say to anybody who might be in the audience or watching the replay, please post comments. If you are in the live version, it is on multiple platforms at the same time, and we don't always see all the comments as they arrive. And if that is the case and we don't react, don't worry. We'll get to those comments after the show. It's just how this thing works that it doesn't always show everything. Just so don't get upset. We will get to you. That's what I want to say, like upfront to everyone. And yeah, and then we'll just jump right in because Katrina is the star and the spotlight is on you. So I mean, there's things that I wrote down. We'd had a conversation before, and we know each other from a book project actually, which is interesting. And but I wrote down some, words, characteristics that came to my mind when we had our first conversation. Maybe I don't know. I would love for you to afterwards and tell a little bit about you, and then maybe if these characteristics fit or don't fit into who you are. So I wrote down you are supportive, empathetic, knowledgeable, results oriented, and pragmatic
I
in
would
your
say those
approach.
are all correct.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, I support is one of the ways I like to start out who I help.
Mm-hmm.
Because I support course creators. And for me, it really is about it's about support because it's a combination of things like teaching and coaching and mentoring and consulting, and it's all of those things kind of rolled into one, and the common thread with those things I think is support.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's exactly right.
Yes. That is your title is learning experience designer. I really like that because it has that element of design. Like, tell me a little bit, like, how did you come up with, first of all, how did you start doing? What is the background of you that you said, okay, no, I really feel compelled. This is what I need to be doing and contributing. And how did you choose those three words to represent kind of what you do?
Yeah. Well, so I shifted into the online business industry out of higher education. And so when I was in higher education, I made online writing classes my area of expertise. It's what my dissertation was on. I've been teaching online only since 2010. So I have a lot of experience as an instructional designer. And that's really the design of teaching, how you're going to teach something. I also had experience because of my last position in higher ed doing user experience research. And so that is understanding the experience of the person on the other end, right? We don't ever just we don't ever just put things out there. We don't ever just do things to people. There's another person that is receiving that and interpreting that and doing something with it. So, learning experience design is a combination of those two things. It's really about how we design something that we're teaching someone and how they are also interacting with it and getting what they need from it and kind of finding that happy balance between the
Mm.
two. And so I decided to take it on the road and and do it outside of higher education because I felt like there was a need for it in the online business arena, specifically in course creation, because I think so many times, one, there's a misunderstanding about how learning actually works. And so the design often needs a lot of work. Um, but also, we need to be getting feedback and we need to be getting feedback that's going to help us improve the design of the course for the people that are experiencing it. And that's sort of how I landed on that term to describe what it is I do.
Hmm. That's really interesting. I'd like to welcome CJ. Dr. Constance Leland is in the audience. Thank you so much for being here. And yes, thank you. Actually, that kind of leads me into the next question, because the next question would have been, and I think part of it is something you already mentioned, but what do you see as the biggest like mistake that course creators go into, or kind of do and then wonder why it didn't work?
Yeah, I think the number one mistake is focusing on content first, because there's lots of content out there. There are a lot of courses that are really just video vaults or content delivery, right? But when you're when you're learning something, you're not just absorbing content. You're not just opening up your head and having somebody pour information in. Content or information needs to be, you have to engage with it. You have to do something with it. You have to apply it in order for it to be information that you recall later and then do something with, and then over and over and over, right? Practicing these things. And so I think starting with the content is probably the number one mistake, because they should be started you should be starting with, and I hate shoulds, but it's more effective to start with the things that you're having them do, right? So the
Mhm.
tasks, how are we getting to those goals? People sign up for courses or sign up for programs because they want to make a change. And that change is going to happen through learning. And so if you're not creating a space where they're going to be working toward a goal and taking those steps toward the goal, and I'm not sure why why are we doing it, right? And so starting with the tasks and the things that are going to help them reach that goal, and then filling in the content. So in order to do this thing, this is the information that they need. And it might still result in a lot of content depending on what your course is about, right?
Mhm.
Um, but I think that's the number one mistake, and kind of the fix the fix for it.
Yeah, and what about that feedback? You mentioned feedback, and I think that is probably one of the key elements, to be able to create anything.
Yeah, yeah.
And how do you think that people kind of miss it, or, I don't know, don't regard it as important, or what do you think what happens?
So, and this is in part from experience, having taken courses outside of higher education. Sometimes when someone asks for feedback, they don't actually want something constructive. They're asking for a testimonial. And so I think sometimes confusing feedback with testimonials, which testimonials can be feedback, but separating those two is a good first step, because feedback really should be constructive. It should be like, this went really well for me, and this is why. And this is something that didn't go great for me, and this is why. And oh, I have a suggestion, right? And so having, instead of focusing on testimonials as ways to get feedback, focusing on structured feedback, asking very specific questions about things that might be like a difficult point in the course or a difficult concept for people to get. Asking questions about it. How did it go for you? Rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. If you could change, had a magic wand and you could change that module, what would you change? Things like that, because guided questions will help you get better feedback.
Yeah, oh, that is so good. And that's actually something that I also work, I work with athletes, and feedback is often really hard unless you are prepared. Unless, like you said, you are specific about what you want feedback on,
Hmm.
because it can turn into harsh criticism. Like in my kind of world, in the athletes and stuff, it often is in a form of criticism, saying what was wrong. But if you are in a place to formulate your question for the feedback in a very well, you will actually get much more out of it, right?
Yeah, yeah, because the more specific, the better. That reminds me. So my eldest child is on a swim team, and she's very frustrated with a particular coach who just says, "Do it better." Right?
Oh,
Instead of giving very specific, like, okay, well, this is what isn't
mhm.
going well, and this is how you can fix it. And so when you're in a context of a course, you want to guide that feedback. You want to say, okay, what was the thing that I didn't do well when I did, that flip turn or whatever? And then how do I make it better?
Yeah. And one question that just came to my mind is, What, and this is maybe an opinion or something, but what role does like market research before you even create a course play in creating the course?
So I am a firm believer that those things should happen together. So you should be doing the market research and also planning the course at the same time. And so if you are weaving those things together, then you're able to ask better questions in your market research. So one of the things that I take folks through is at the topic level, right? Just getting an idea of what the course topic is, what the description is, and then going and asking questions. Like, is this something that you would be interested in a course? And
Hmm.
then create the goals and then say, if you were to buy a course on XYZ, is this something that you would want to be able to do by the end? Right. And so, kind of making the research, the market research also include them as a learner, like in what they would want to learn in that course, is what I always recommend, because that way you're being the most efficient, really. So you're both planning and designing at the same time that you're getting that feedback before you start building, whether that's building before you sell it or selling it before you build it. It doesn't really matter.
Hmm.
The design and the plan and the research should all happen at the same time.
That is awesome because I do believe in that. Sounds to me like it's a little bit like a co-creation in that
Hmm.
sense,
Yeah,
where you asking for these questions, it kind of helps you create the course that is then something that somebody needs to have, you
yeah,
know, that
yeah,
then also will help, to be very corresponding to that particular audience too.
yeah.
So what do you think of co-creating?
Um, I mean, I think like any good design, good learning design is about iteration. And so you will co-create with lots of different lots of different clients, right? Because the first round of clients that maybe go through your course will help you create it to be better for the next round, and then you'll keep making it better and better and better.
Mhm.
I think there is a point where you get to level out a little bit and not have to make changes every single time. But even still, you can keep asking for feedback so that you can keep making it as supported and helping your clients be as successful as you can.
Mhm. Yeah. What has been your personal, like, really, like, if when you think back and you've created course and you've been teaching online like for a really long time, much longer than most people even think that it was possible, right? 2010, man, that's a long time ago. And
Yeah,
that was way before COVID.
way
So,
before COVID.
what has been like for you, like a pivotal moment where you said, no, I really like this was really successful and this is something now I got, like I figured it out for this particular thing that I was working on.
I don't know that I ever I don't know that I ever like I've got it. That's exactly it. Because I'll try it out and I'll be like, maybe I'll change that just a little bit. I feel like I'm always kind of tweaking and adjusting just because people are always changing. And so if people are always changing, then what we're doing changes a little bit, even if it's just a small element or a small piece. And technology is changing, right? And if you're teaching an online course, then technology is going to impact how you're doing things.
Hmm.
Um, so I don't know that I would say I've nailed anything down. It's kind of always changing, and I think that's why I like it so much. I'm kind of always relearning things, which I find to be fun, but I don't know that your average person does.
Yeah, well, maybe people that you work with are kind of the same, right? Because, I don't think that you'd ever want to go through the process of creating a course if you weren't absolutely, first of all, into it, right? I mean, you feel like
Right.
you're an expert in something, and then when you are, then you want to continuously know more and develop more, right?
Exactly. Exactly. So I guess there are things like course mapping, like that's something that is going to be invaluable tool for
Hmm.
creating a course. And that's something that I have, I have systems and ways that I do it, but it isn't the only way to do it. And so I think I have down giving out different ways to
Hmm.
approach the same thing because we like options, right? Humans like options. Adults especially need options. So,
Yes. Yeah, and we just talked about this before this show was also like the options and also the way you explain things, the words that you use to teach someone something or to give information that we're also different. You need to have multiple ways. And this is probably how I imagine that you also structure when you are working with a client, that you find out what kind of language do you need to use with them so that they get out, the best out of it, right?
yeah. Oh, exactly. The shift from higher education to the course creation industry was a bit bumpy, right? Because there's a lot of words that I don't use anymore, even though it's referring to the same thing.
Yeah, and then well, and that brings me to because I created a course like now this is like out of I don't know inspiration and that just came to me and I created this app and I have a courses inside the app. That's the
Mhm.
first thing I ever did. I didn't know anything about course creation. Now when I look at it, I see like the thousand things that I have to go and change. But um, the course it works. However, do you see that there's a difference between like I'm sure you work with people who do inside an app or maybe they do, a Zoom based course or any other such platform based course. Is there a difference that how you approach when it's on an app, something that people can then go to, or if it's online, let's say it's a 7, 8 week course that you're providing?
Yeah, it really will. So which option you choose will depend on what it is you're teaching, and then how you design both the content delivery, so them getting the content, and also the tasks that you're going to have them do is going to be impacted by whether or not you see them and you get to interact with them, whether that's in a Zoom or in a chat or whatever it happens to be. And if they're kind of just doing more of a self study where they're doing the thing or somewhere in between. I think that's where some people get caught up is it has to be either or, but you can
Mm,
have some in between of those two things. And that tends to actually be the most effective.
yeah. Well, that, yeah. I could actually, until right now, I might have been one of those who sees it's either or. And you just said, no, it's not. That's good. It's not black and white. There's a lot of things in between, right? So, and how do you work with people? Like, what's the first thing? Like, if somebody says, okay, I want you to help me. How does it start? What do you go first with?
That depends. If you are someone that likes to chat first, I've got a link to chat first. I also have freebies, one that focuses on people that are just getting started, and one that focuses on people that have a course and it's not going great for whatever reason. And then we go from there. That's usually how folks start to work with me. Um,
And then you do like one-on-ones or you help them through the process or
Yeah, I do in the same way that I like to give choices all in other ways. I like to give choices in my services. And so I have a couple of different options in terms of something that is more group based and then something that's more one-on-one um, across across both groups of just
Mhm.
getting started or I already have something. So in the hopes of making it both more affordable, right? Because group tends to be more affordable. And also make it so that it can fit your life. Not everybody has the time for an intensive one-on-one. And so really it's a pick your path through my services in order to make it accessible.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds good. I think I'm gonna look into this because I also personally have things that I have in mind for courses and stuff, and I have noticed that some things work, some things don't work, and
Mhm.
there's a lot to learn, and I can learn a lot from you. So, like including me, if there are other people out there who want to, who I know there are a lot of people who have that in mind. I have talked myself with a lot of people who say, yes, I'm creating a course, I'm doing this, and I want to create value. And a lot of people also go for, well, if you have a course that just runs on its own, it's kind of, it could be passive income. I mean, that's really lucrative. That's a wonderful way of being able to serve even more people if it works out. And so, how do people find you or contact you and find the link to maybe organize a chat with you?
Yeah, so the easiest way to do that is on my website, which is cmlearningdesign.com. Also, because this is streaming to LinkedIn, I'm also most active on LinkedIn. And you can
Yes,
DM me. I respond to DMs in LinkedIn. Not everywhere else, just LinkedIn.
that's good. LinkedIn is easy, right?
It
So,
is.
I mean, that's also where we have connected. And
Mhm.
yeah, I think that's a great place. And we can also, after this, once this posts on the platforms, we're going to put the link to your website in the comments. So don't
Okay.
worry if you didn't catch it right now, then you will catch it later in the comments. So we're actually like over time. It's 21
Great.
minutes. Oh my goodness. Um, but I mean, this has been fascinating. I have learned a lot, and I know that there's a lot more to learn in this process. And then thank you so much for coming. Is there anything else that you would like to share? Last words of wisdom or something?
I'm starting a YouTube channel and I'm launching it next week. So for better
Yes.
or worse, come follow me there.
So what's the name of the YouTube channel?
It's going to be Course Creator Playbook.
Course Creator Playbook. There we go. All right, we're going to put that in the comments as well for everyone. And we all want to go and we want to subscribe and like and everything, right? We all know how
Yeah.
that works on YouTube, and keep repeating that. So I will definitely start following you, and I'm excited for this. YouTube is an exciting place and
Yeah.
another platform. So yeah, thank you so much, Katrina. I really enjoyed our conversation. And
Thank you, Paula, for having me.
yes, and I know we will continue conversations for sure. And
Absolutely.
thank you, everyone who's been here. CJ, I know, was here at least. And then everyone who's watching the replay, please post your comments and say that you were here, and we will reply to your comments. And yeah, look forward to seeing a lot of people join Katrina's courses because, yeah, that's where you learn everything. And I will definitely check it out. So thank you so much. And I hope to see you all very soon next